Selection Sunday come and gone. Best time of the year is upon us. 2 games Wednesday, 2 games Thursday, and then 48 games between Friday and Monday nights. And at this time in 3 weeks, we're going to have a national champion. Welcome to the latest Gauer Hour. Rob Joyce, Megan Gauer. As you can see, as you can hear, we're going Tuesdays the rest of the year. We were unsure exactly when we sign off on Friday, but Tuesdays the rest of the year. That means earlier recordings for you and I. And I'm a morning person. That's fine. Megan's already a little late. She needed her coffee. I feel like it's a bad omen. You're in for a rude 3 weeks here.
It is less the fact that it's early because I am usually up at this time, and more the fact that I worked till like 4 a.m. last night. So we're just not thriving this week right now.
I don't drink coffee, and thank goodness, because it just doesn't seem like a fun lifestyle. If you missed the selection show on Sunday, no big deal, because you already knew the field of 68 because Megan told you last week. Sure, some seed tweaks here and there, but 68 teams. She told you all of them. Megan, bragging herself. Give me the stats.
Yeah, 68 for 68, 64 within one seed line. Tennessee got me. Clemson got me, and then Howard and Missouri State down in the Autobids got me in 15 of 16 in the host. So feeling pretty good about that.
Well done. I will say your first 4 out, you only got 3 of the first 4. So let's try to improve your WBIT 1 seeds for next year. It was Texas A&M, not Mississippi State, the wrong maroon and white team in the SEC. By the way, last time the letters W, B, I, and T will be said in succession on this show for the rest of the year. Well done, Megan. We're going to break down region by region. We'll start, though, kind of the 300-foot view of this. Field itself. You said last week you didn't expect UConn and UCLA to flip-flop 1 and 2. That was obviously the case. UConn the number 1, UCLA the number 2. I assume no issues with that.
No, I think that made sense. I know they said, like, the committee said it was close, and it makes sense that it probably was close the whole time, but I think it made sense that it held steady there.
The hosting, first of all, in hindsight, the Saturday reveal for the top 16 in ABC order, I didn't like it. It took, there would have been a lot of, this is an entertainment show at the end of the day, right? Very little entertainment because I already knew North Carolina was hosting over Maryland or Kentucky or Michigan State or whomever. So there's no drama or very little drama, especially since we kind of knew who probably was in and out at the back end of the bubble. Did you like the Saturday reveal now that we've actually experienced it?
No. I also was like, it was like an awkward thing of like, okay, what do I do with my bracket now? Because like they told us this thing, so I guess I should switch it before Saturday. But like I did miss one of them. Like, I don't know. I didn't like it. And it was also just like you said, it took the like excitement out of Sunday too a bit, because I think a big part of Sunday is like who is going to be hosting and who is not. And you took that away entirely. Like these teams, I mean, they don't know for sure if they're hosting, but if you're one of the 17, 18 teams that have a shot at it, like, I don't know.
Right.
Really
you are having logistics meetings in the weeks prior, knowing, oh, we might be in this conversation. And I mean, frankly, for 13, 14 teams, like, yes, we are hosting. We don't know, but we're hosting this thing in a month or 3 weeks or whatever. So like the extra 27 hours, like, I don't think that's the difference between logistically it going great and it going not great. But I mean, they tried it. I get you're trying things. That's fine. Threw it in a wall. Hopefully it doesn't come back next year. Because yeah, I mean, what were your takeaways when you saw North Carolina hosting? Because heels all year, like they were ranked early on. They just kind of lost some games, fell out of the top 25. They were, I think, in the 20s for the last majority of the month of the season. Enough teams around them slip up. They make it to the ACC semis, a nice run at the end of the year. They beat Duke, and all of a sudden, there they are on the top 16.
Yeah, I mean, I was kicking myself because I haven't been hawing over North Carolina versus Maryland for that last spot for forever and went with Maryland. And of course, that was not the right choice. But I think, yeah, you see that they get rewarded, especially for that win over Duke to close out the regular season. That and the fact that Maryland went 0-2 since that last reveal was enough to push them out and give North Carolina that spot. So, I mean, I thought it was a really, really close call, so it doesn't shock me.
Yeah, I mean, Maryland is 14th in the net. North Carolina's 19th, so it's awfully close. Maryland has 6 quad one wins to North Carolina's 4. Big difference. UNC is 9-1 in quad 2. Maryland is just 2-0. So we put that together. That's one team is 8-8 in quads 1 and 2, and one team is 13-7. So yeah, I mean, it was very, very close. North Carolina. It seems like every year, end of year form matters a little bit. Like Tennessee, if they'd won any of the last games in the last month, probably a 9 seed. North Carolina, if they lose one more games, probably out of it. But Maryland struggled a little bit down the stretch. So yeah, I think the late season form matters. And North Carolina will probably host a round of 32 game against Maryland because they're in the same pod. We'll get to that in a bit. And then very little drama. Last 4 in, first 4 out. I don't think.
Yeah, pretty much exactly as expected there.
Because we were doing some live stuff with radio, but it didn't seem like there was no surprises here.
No, like those were the teams I thought should be in, and I think everyone else kind of had come to that conclusion too. Like there was just I think a very clear line this year. Like as much as I'm excited about 68 for 68, it feels like it was a little bit of an easy year to get 68 for 68.
Yeah, Nebraska, Richmond, the 11 seeds will play on Wednesday at 7, and then the 10 seeds will play on Thursday. That's Virginia and Arizona State, and then your 16 seeds, Missouri State and Stephen F. Austin on Wednesday, and then Southern and Samford on Thursday. So as you break down these games, Megan and I are going to start to do that. If you're breaking down your individual games, you have your bracket. I'm very bothered. I was not able to go to work yesterday. We had threats of tornadoes in North Carolina. School was closed. And my wife didn't see the email that I sent her in time. I don't have a paper bracket. And it's stressing me out. I need my paper bracket. But as you're breaking down these games, herhoopstats.com, be a subscriber, has the Compare NCAA Resumes tool, where literally you click on it, you type in any 2 teams. So you want to know Fairfield versus Notre Dame. Type in Fairfield in column A, type in Notre Dame in column B, hit submit, and all the comparable stats populate. Obviously, it's stats only, so you have to put the context into them. Fairfield plays in the MAC, the Metro. They're renaming that soon. Notre Dame plays in the ACC. Take that what you will. The 14 seed that scores more than the 3 seed, you have to add the whole conference thing. But it's a phenomenal tool, especially as you get later and you're trying to figure out, great, I have Kentucky and Texas in the Sweet 16. Well, let me go look at how they compare. It'll tell you. Let's break this down.
That tool is great. I love that tool.
Yes. Call me Rudy to Booty because I'm going chalk here. Don't be dumb. There's a very clear 4 teams. If you want to get spicy and have like a 5th or a 6th different one in the Final 4, that's fine. Chalk will get you far in this. Let's start at the top. Fort Worth 1. UConn's the 1 seed. Give me your 2-sentence summation 1 through 16 of this region, Megan.
It's hard. Like it's a whole. I'm struggling to find words to put the whole region into it. I mean, I feel like everyone jumps to the potential 1-2 matchup in this region, and like I think you have your 2 national player of the year candidates in the same bracket, and that's what stands out here.
My takeaway,
but I will say it is like very outside of Vanderbilt and UConn, pretty Big Ten and ACC heavy, which is interesting.
My takeaway from this, looking at the teams, is just the individual star power. Obviously, UConn has Sarah Strong, Azzi Fudd. Vanderbilt has Michaela Blakes, obviously, but then you have Audie Crooks as an 8 seed. You have Aluccio Kanawa with Maryland. You have Jelani Cambridge. You have Hannah Hidalgo. Like more than other regions, teams with All-Americans who can single-handedly win you a game if you're struggling. There's a lot of star power, top to bottom, in this bracket. I mean, even like Illinois has Parchment and Wallace, one of them who you may not know because you maybe didn't watch Illinois a whole lot because they're the 8th best Big Ten team because there's a billion Big Ten teams that are good. They're excellent. So that was my takeaway in looking at this top to bottom. We'll just start right at the top. Start with the Stores pod. But what is UTSA? I'm kidding. We're not talking any 1 versus 16 matchups here. What Syracuse, Iowa State. This is Saturday afternoon, by the way. This Stores pod. Frankly, Syracuse, Iowa State, I thought was pretty interesting. And then Dominique Davis is out with a hand injury for Syracuse. The talent is still there, but I think it's got a little less interesting considering Syracuse has 4 players in double figures and very little depth beyond that, and one of them's out.
Yeah, I agree. I saw that news yesterday, and I was like, well, that's a bummer for that game. Just it's not a great time to lose your starting point guard. That's a tough loss, too. I think of all the positions you can lose, like your point guard is one of the toughest ones to recover from, especially at this point in the season. So that takes a lot out of this matchup. But, I mean, Iowa State is always going to be fun, right? I think they're you're looking at what can Audie Crooks do in this first game, and a team that had kind of gotten it back together a little bit as we closed out the season, just in having Addie Brown back, and I feel like they now are in a position very much to probably win this first game.
Turn that mic a little bit closer.
Sorry.
There you go. There we go. You're just going in and out there a little bit. Yeah, I mean, Syracuse can absolutely still win this game. Like, they have Layla Filia. They have Uche Izoje, one of the 10 best freshmen in the country, nearly average a double-double, so I'm certainly not counting them out. But they have the 4 players averaging in double figures, and no one else for Syracuse averages more than 5.5 points per game. So they're just not deep. So losing your point guard is a big blow. In general, were you surprised Syracuse a 9 seed and Clemson an 8 seed?
Not surprised at Syracuse that much. I think I had them as a 10, but like they were my first 10, so 9. Clemson as an 8, yes, though I had them as 10, so I missed on that one. I think a handful of us honestly missed on that one. That one was shocking to me, and one I haven't entirely been able to make sense of yet, other than I think they had like no bad losses, and I think you start to get to some places where they're caught 3, caught 4 losses in that 10 range, so I'm thinking that's what separated them, but honestly, still one that's making me scratch my head a little bit.
Is who?
Clemson.
Sorry. Oh, Clemson, yes. Okay, yeah. Yeah, I mean, good to them. We'll get to them in a bit. In general, that was just one of the ones I went, oh, Clemson's an 8. Interesting. Mm-hmm. In terms of Syracuse, Iowa State side, Audie Crooks can obviously keep things interesting. Let's say they win their first round game. I don't think there's any reason to believe that they're going to stop UConn, even if they do have the firepower to certainly test UConn defensively.
Yeah, this is not a team that has been known for its defense all season long, and I think obviously a team like UConn is going to be able to exploit that, and just the way that they run their offense and the amount of offensive weapons that they have, like that's going to be a tough matchup for Iowa State defensively. But on the flip side, like you said, they are able to score a lot of points and try to keep pace with the UConn team that they won't be able to stop. And I think that has to start with Audie Crooks, and it'll be interesting to see how UConn defends her and what they do with her. But this also isn't the first time UConn's seen or played Audie Crooks. They played her last year. Regular season?
I don't think Ashlyn Shade's going to hit 15 threes in the first quarter.
Correct. I don't think that game plan is going to come through, but they have seen her before, so it's not an entirely new thing for a lot of players on their roster. And Sarah Strong, I'm sure, is going to collect some of that assignment, as well as Sarah Williams, so it'll be interesting to see how that matchup goes.
For Iowa State, to shock the world, defense. They've allowed fewer than 72 points once in the last 8 games. That was 64 against an Arizona State team that doesn't score much. And then the Sun Devils put up 77 on them in a Big Ten tournament loss for the Cyclones. 4 times in the last 8 games, they've allowed at least 79 points. 79 is not going to do it against UConn. Yeah, you're going to have to find a way to defend if you can beat Syracuse in that first round game. It is a fascinating, just the ceiling of Iowa State that you would think would make UConn just kind of worry a little bit, and then it's just the consistency of Syracuse that might, I think, worry UConn a bit, even if Davis won't be playing this weekend. That takes us to maybe the most, this is certainly the most quote-unquote controversial, or the headline host site, because UNC hosts in Chapel Hill, and Maryland, the team that a lot of us thought were going to host, comes to Chapel Hill Friday afternoon. North Carolina, Western Illinois, Maryland, Murray State. I don't see Western Illinois winning. Sorry, Leathernecks. Congrats on your 3rd NCAA tournament. Murray State is a 12 seed against Maryland. I'm intrigued.
Yeah, this is an interesting matchup. They have a great player in Haley Pook, who's fantastic in the MVC tournament, and just is, a really dynamic scorer and someone that can put up 30 points in a game. And I think when you have a player on the floor like that on the floor, like if she can go out there and be the best player in the game, you've got a shot to win, and also adds to all the individual star power in this region, even with some names that maybe you don't normally think of.
Yeah, Murray State is 5th in the nation in scoring. They're actually a top 30 offense in efficiency per her hoop stats. So this isn't a fluke. They're not at all deep. They have 4 players in double figures. The 5th average is 5 points a game, and no one else averages over 4.5 a game. So they're very much reliant on their starters. But you mentioned Hallie Poke. They have 2 players averaging over 17 a game. and neither of them leads the team in Charnice, Curry, Jelks, and Haven Ford. They don't defend much. There's going to be a lot of points in this game. It's going to be a lot of fun because Maryland's defense is good, not great. I could see Murray State, frankly, if they were to beat Maryland, give North Carolina a run for its money if they were to beat the Terps. If you're looking 12 versus 5, it's been a couple of years since we got one. If you're going to take one, I think it would be the Racers. But what do you have coming out of this pod?
I'm probably going to stay chalk here, and you're getting my live bracket pick because I haven't actually had a chance to sit down and make picks yet, so it's a little bit of my live thoughts, but I'll probably stay chalk, but I do think Murray State's an interesting one here because I actually think Maryland is the harder matchup for them. Like, if they were to beat Maryland, I think they could easily go beat North Carolina. But I'll probably go chalk, and then I'm going to stick with North Carolina coming out of it. It's North Carolina, Maryland. I just think that we've seen Maryland struggle a bit down the stretch, as we kind of talked about earlier, and North Carolina feels like it's hit its stride a little bit.
It's very much a clash of styles if we get chalk in the second round. North Carolina, 222nd in the country in possessions per 40 minutes. Maryland is 86th. So one wants to go slow, make it a half-court game. One wants to push it a little more. Terps are better offensively. Heels are better defensively. The resumes are interesting because the Heels obviously beat Duke, but their next best win is NC State. Terps have beaten Kentucky, Ohio State, Minnesota, Michigan State, all of whom are better than NC State. So they're more tested in the Big Ten. Coin flip game like you, I was not able. I don't have my paper bracket, and I was on dad duty most of yesterday / prepping. So I've not actually filled out my bracket yet. Yeah, I'll probably just take North Carolina. That's more hedging my bets because I think Maryland would beat North Carolina, but I'm also not positive Maryland beats Murray State.
Yeah.
Columbus, Saturday early afternoon. Ohio State, Howard, and then I think a fascinating 6 versus 11. Notre Dame obviously has the best player on the floor anytime they take the floor, with 2 or 3 exceptions, but Fairfield has the next 2 best players in Megan Anderson and Katie Lamoureux. Notre Dame, Fairfield. Give it to me Saturday.
Yeah, this one is really exciting. And when I knew that Fairfield was probably going to be an 11 and Notre Dame was a 6, this was the one I was kind of hoping for, because I think when you look at this Fairfield team, their biggest weakness is they don't have any size. Well, guess who also doesn't have any size? Notre Dame. So this makes for a really fun matchup in that they kind of have the same weakness and like not going to just be able to exploit that and blow in and out in that way. So like you said, Hidalgo is the best player on the floor, but Fairfield has probably the 2 second best players in Lamoureux and Anderson, and this should be a really fun matchup.
Go back to Fairfield's non-conference. They hung on the glass with Villanova, beat the Wildcats. Lost to North Carolina, hung on the glass, but they had 25 turnovers to just 10 for UNC. They were hammered by Iowa in rebounding. They lost by 14. Yeah, you mentioned Notre Dame, not a great rebounding team. They're going to hang inside. I think it's the turnovers. Like, don't let Hannah Hidalgo come up with 9 steals in the game, which sounds like a stupid number. She's had double-digit steals multiple times this year. Like, don't let her ruin the game for Fairfield. And then it's the threes. Fairfield has struggled. 17 times they've made 10 or more this year. None of them have come in the last 6 games, and they are shooting sub 30% from 3 in the last 6 games. Make threes, they can absolutely win this game. But Notre Dame, February, March Notre Dame is a lot different than December, January Notre Dame. This Irish team is starting to hit its stride, kind of like UNC, like right time of year, it seems.
Yeah, exactly. It felt like they, like you said, really, really struggled December, January. Like it was kind of like this team doesn't have an identity outside of Hidalgo, and like I don't really know what they can do. And then they've quietly, in a way, because the ACC, they were just winning, but like not being talked about all that much until maybe call it the last couple of weeks. Like ran through, won some games, upset Louisville, I think, to close out the regular season, and then got back on everyone's radar. Had a nice little run in the ACC tournament, and this team is definitely a team that's playing its best basketball of the season in March.
Ayanna Moore has become that consistent second scorer she was expected to be when she came in from Vandy. And that's the difference here, right? Like Hannah Hidalgo is going to put up Hannah Hidalgo numbers. If Moore can score 15 to 20, Cassandra Prosper and Vanessa De Jesus, they're fairly hit or miss points-wise, but if they're good, they're going to beat Fairfield. If they struggle, they very much can lose to Fairfield, which would potentially take away from, I think a Hidalgo-Jelani Cambridge one-on-one second-round battle. I don't care if it's the round of 32. That's as good a one-on-one matchup as we're going to get all tournament if it comes.
Yeah, Exactly. It's like as much as I love to root for an upset, I really want that second round matchup between Notre Dame and Ohio State. You've got two of the best point guards in the country, two of the best scorers in the country. Like that's going to be such a fun one-on-one matchup if we get it. And I think everyone's kind of probably has that game circled a little bit on there. Okay, what's there to watch on Sunday and Monday? That one for sure.
As a Southern Connecticut native, you should be ashamed.
I know. I live 15 minutes for Fairfield. I'm rooting for Fairfield to upset, of course, but
The win-win for Megan. Either
yes.
her local team wins, or we get Hannah Hidalgo versus Jelani Cambridge in the second round. No offense to Howard. The Ohio State doesn't get blown out. They got blown out by UConn in like the second or third game of the year. Otherwise, even the UCLA games, they hung around. They don't get blown out. That's the difference here.
Mm-hmm.
Notre Dame has a much lower floor than Ohio State, and then because I mean their ceilings, Ohio State has a higher ceiling, but it's not that much higher. I don't think that Notre Dame's potentially. It's just that Ohio State's not going to lose by 35 points. Notre Dame has that in them.
Yeah,
right.
exactly. We've seen them do it this year when they played UConn. I mean, Ohio State with UConn too, but that's the only existence of that for Ohio State. And I think Notre Dame is. I mean, as Ohio State is very dependent on Jelani Cambridge, but Notre Dame is more dependent on Hannah Hidalgo. And if they can find any way, if like Cambridge can disrupt Hidalgo enough out of her element, like things turn south for Notre Dame quickly if she can't get what she needs to get.
Yeah, and that takes us to Saturday night, the last pod in Fort Worth 1. Vanderbilt hosting against High Point, and then Illinois, Colorado. Let's start with Commodores seated lower than LSU. That was a choice.
I think it was expected after they lost that first game in the SEC tournament, losing in the quarterfinals there. I know LSU only made it to the semis, but I think they did themselves a big favor by how closely they played South Carolina in the semis. I think they kind of proved that what happened on their home court. Yes, they lost, but like it was a close game. Like also happened on the neutral court. Still, they like need to win one of those eventually. But I think playing South Carolina as close as they did helped them. And for Vanderbilt, because the committee tends to have that little bit of recency bias, I kind of expected the Ole Miss loss in the quarterfinals was going to hurt them.
Yeah, I understand it. LSU also has not been blown out at any point this year. And it was against good teams, but LSU at no point has been down 25 or 30 points this year. And Vandy has been down 25 or 30 points multiple times. And when you're splitting hairs, I mean, the options here are you're playing UConn likely in the Elite Eight, or you're playing UCLA likely in the Elite Eight. I know Gino had his kind of like, I hope the committee didn't do it for storyline reasons. It's like, well, it was going to be Vandy or LSU and UConn region. Like it had to be, because they can't go to Texas's region. They can't go to South Carolina's region. So it's not really a storyline thing. You can question whether LSU, UCLA round 3 or Vandy, UConn, Shea versus Gino, Michaela Blake, Sarah Strong is a storyline. You can argue that. If you have your conspiracy theories, fine. But I mean, the committee's hand. I want your thoughts on this, because there's a lot of like, oh, why are we getting a first round rematch, or why are we getting a potential second round rematches? The conferences are too freaking big.
Yeah.
That's why.
The conferences are too big. And then like I know there was like some arguments about that on the internet of like, well, like why can't the conference playing teams like play each other until
because the coaches are going to complain about it for weeks on it. Weeks.
Exactly. And especially when you have units, I think like you're gonna have you're gonna have a lot of people mad if you start having conference teams play each other in the first round, second round. Like the conferences, the SEC has all the money in the world, but they still want those units. So, and they can get more units if they're not playing each other early and knocking each other out.
Yes, the coaches, you'll never hear the end of it.
Right.
You're right. The conference officials don't want. Sure, they'll take a guaranteed unit, but they also will go, oh, well, our team would have won in the first round if they played an ACC team or a mid-major or whatever. Yeah, they want the money. And frankly, like, sure, Tennessee and NC State played this year. It was November.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, long time. I'm willing to take a second game for a game that was 4.5 months ago. By the time that they play, it's fine.
Yeah, that one really didn't bother me because, well, where else are you gonna put Tennessee as the 10? Like, well, if you go to Sacramento 4, Georgia's the 7, can't go there. And then you go up to Fort Worth 1 or Sacramento 2, like, you've got 2 seeds that are from the SEC, so then you're meeting 2 seed in the second round. So, like, I think you're breaking one of the, like, bracketing principles either way. So, like, they picked the one that's the November rematch. I have no issue with that. I get
Right.
annoyed when it's like a clear miss and it's like last year, like Duke and Richmond playing in the, or maybe that was, no, I think it was last year that they like played again after playing in the regular season. And it's like, okay, well, you can put Richmond anywhere. So like, don't do that. But this one makes
Yeah.
sense.
When this isn't the exact number, but it's close. Like 17 of the top 24 seeds are from the SEC or Big Ten. The committee's gonna be pigeonholed into doing certain things. So you just have to like, it is what it is. When there's 12 SEC teams and 11 Big Ten teams or whatever it is, and they're all seated fifth or higher, concessions have to be made and things will have to be done. In this case, you get Vandy UConn potentially in the Elite Eight. Why you're taking Colorado, Illinois? Because I think Colorado can beat Illinois. I don't think Colorado can beat Vandy. However, I think Illinois on the right day could.
That's fair. I think we've talked a lot this season about this Illinois team and like they're young, but they've got so much talent and it's really a complete team. And then this Colorado team just feels like it's a team that's been a little bit hot, I would say, to end the regular season, right? Like they had some nice wins to close out the regular season, had a nice little run in the Big 12 tournament, like played their way very comfortably into the field versus a team that a couple weeks ago we were talking about being very bubbly. Um, so a team that's kind of hitting their stride at the right time, but I don't know. I think they can beat Illinois, but I just think that Illinois has like more depth. If I don't know if that's a fair statement, but it feels like that.
I think with Colorado, if they were to play Vandy, I don't think they can score enough. They
Yeah.
average fewer than 68 a game in games against top 65 for Hoop Stats efficiency rankings teams. So basically, NCAA tournament teams and a couple who missed the tournament. They played
Mhm.
13 games. They hit 73 times. You're going to have to score at least 70 to beat Vandy. Illinois, they're second in the country in free throw percentage. They're top 20 in 3-point percentage. They take care of the ball. The D is okay. It's not great, but they have the offensive capability to get into a shootout with Vandy, especially if the Commodores come out cold. So I'm too chicken to call it, especially in Nashville. But Illinois, if they make the second round, I think that could be maybe the best second round game of all of these. Illinois Vandy. We'll save our predictions for the conferences or for the regions for the end. Move on to Sacramento 2. My summation, I saw a lot of UCLA has the toughest bracket, and maybe they do. Are you so? Do you really think anyone's beating UCLA from this group? Because I don't.
No. I get the argument because like LSU was your fifth overall and they get sent to UCLA and then I feel like Duke got robbed a little bit, like probably should have been a 2 seed, end up as the first 3 and also had to UCLA's region. So they get a tough draw there, but like you also only have to play one of those teams, right? And I mean it's hard to see anyone beating UCLA before the Final Four.
And I mean, the other two seeds were Iowa and Michigan. So it
Mhm.
would have been Duke anyways as the 2 seed if one of them slid down to the 3 line because brackets. Like LSU and Vandy both would have been 2. Yeah, it could fine. It would have been you want Vandy instead of LSU?
No, they would have had LSU no matter what, but
Sure.
they would
Then
have
there you
had
go. You're stuck. I guess your 3 yeah, your 3 seed can your 3 seed, I don't know. You tell me. Can your 3 seed be a team from your conference? I don't know anymore.
um
I guess it depends on how many teams
yeah,
from your conference are ahead of you.
right. Yeah, but Ohio State would have gone like they did to UConn, so it would have been Louisville or TCU.
Thank God you're the
Or
conference
it could have
largest because
been
it gives me a headache.
yeah, I don't know. It's anyway. It doesn't really matter.
This would be an interesting 8-9 game, Oklahoma State Princeton, if I wasn't convinced that both are going to get boat raced by the Bruins. But
Yeah.
on its own, Oklahoma State Princeton's intriguing Saturday night.
Yeah, it should be an interesting matchup. I think Princeton I had them as a 9 because I knew the committee would put them there. like this team only lost like 3 games all season, and 2 of them were Columbia. So I feel like they're a team that like you knew they were going to be a 9, but they feel a little underseeded to me, and certainly could go in and win this matchup. And then Oklahoma State on the flip side, I feel like not as much as last year, but still a team that's kind of up and down.
Yes, this is all about which Oklahoma State team shows up. Because I think the Cowgirls are a better team. They have a better offense. They have a better defense by more than I would have guessed, the numbers say. But the same team that beat Iowa State twice and gave TCU a run for its money in Fort Worth, they scored 40 against West Virginia. They lost to K-State twice. They lost at St. John's. Princeton just can't beat Columbia, and they lost at Maryland early in the year. So if good Oklahoma State shows up, Cowgirls probably win. If bad Oklahoma State shows up, Princeton probably wins the game. And it, because the Tigers, I think, are just like, they're going to score 66 points, and they'll probably play pretty good defense. And it's a matter of Oklahoma State make shots. But however, neither one of them is touching UCLA.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like it's the second round game. That's not even worth talking about. I don't see a path for either of those teams. There's nothing they can do with Lauren Betts.
Let alone Neepkins and Rice and
Yeah,
Jaquez
exactly.
and Ledger Walker and Sienna Betts and missing someone, Duga Leach. Minneapolis, Friday afternoon. Minnesota, Green Bay. Could be interesting. Probably won't be. Green Bay's, they make the tournament most years. So that's probably not the 13 seed you want. And then Ole Miss, Gonzaga, Friday afternoon. Gophers hosting Well Earned. Every year, run through this at the end. Like 3.5, no, I think it's 3 teams on average who host don't make it to the second weekend. Minnesota's very high on that list for me. I expect them to beat Green Bay. Very good defense. They don't score enough to beat Minnesota. This is about Ole Miss being the 5 seed for me.
Yeah, I agree. I think Ole Miss has looked really good down the end of the stretch. We saw they're running a SEC tournament. Like Cody McMahon is clearly playing at another level. I guess plus for Minnesota is like this is not they're not new to Cody McMahon. They've played her many times at Ohio State. But this is a tough matchup for Minnesota. This is an Ole Miss team that the resume absolutely deserved a 5, but like I think this is a tough matchup for them and just a team that I very easily see coming out of this region. And I feel like it happens a lot in the 4-5s. It was 3 of the 5s came out last year, so the hosting advantage only gets you so far.
Yeah. The Gophers, they're consistent against top 25 teams in the Her Hoop Stats rankings. They went 2-6 against teams 26 through 360, whatever. They were 20-2. So I largely know what I'm getting. Ole Miss is ranked 21st for what that matters. Just like Oklahoma State, this is about Ole Miss. Ask Vanderbilt how fun it is to play Ole Miss.
Right.
Ask Texas how much fun it was to play Ole Miss. They beat the Rebels twice. It was not fun either time. However, Ole Miss also has the ability to score 48 against South Carolina, 57 against Kentucky, 49 against Michigan State, 59 against Georgia, 60 against K-State, 58 against Texas A&M. That's not a small sample of games. This is a lower floor, higher ceiling bunch. If they show up, they're the best team in this pod. If they don't show up, they won't lose to Gonzaga, I don't think. But they can absolutely lose to Minnesota. Shout out Gonzaga, though. If you've not caught Lauren Whitaker, the tremendous Gonzaga freshman, she's tremendous. She averaged like 20 a game as a freshman. And yeah, Gonzaga, another team who's in the tournament basically every year.
Yeah. It feels a little weird to have them as 12 still. I know that's where they are, but like there was that string where they were really good and they like hosted one year and no, they're not. And it still feels a little weird to see Gonzaga on the 12 line.
Yeah, I mean, they're moving to the Pac-12, so in theory, I'm trying to think of this in terms of women's basketball. Is it better than the WCC? Probably, but
yeah,
we'll find out next year.
Pac-12, and we can get into that another time, but it bothers me extremely. Like we cannot recreate the Pac-12.
You're right. Another time. Friday early games. We're going to start things off Friday in Durham. Blue Devils, the best 3 seed. You said they probably should have been a 2. Didn't really faze me, but I did see the chatter. They get the College of Charleston, who pulled a massive upset against the 10 seed Hofstra in the CAA championship game. Didn't see it coming. They were the 1 seed, by the way. Down at halftime. The plucky underdogs against the mighty 11-21 Pride. Just hate to see it.
I'm sorry.
It was fun for a half. Then there was a 17-0 run to start the third, and it got less fun. And then Baylor will get the winner of Nebraska and Richmond in the Friday early games. I expect Baylor probably to beat whichever team that is, the Huskers or the Spiders, although either one of those could very easily beat the Lady Bears, and then probably lose to Duke, because I've said for 2 months, Baylor will beat the teams they're supposed to beat and lose to the teams that are better than them. I know they beat Duke already. That was 3.5, 4 months ago, whatever it was.
Very
November 4. Yes.
Yeah. No, I agree. I'd pick Duke to come out of this. I do think this is actually a first round game that I will wait to pick until we see who wins the first four, because if it's Richmond, I think I will probably pick Richmond because I think they'll have the best player on the floor in Maggie Dugan, and like Rita Olstrom's really good too. Like Richmond's got some talent.
I mean, Brett Prince might be the best player on the floor if Nebraska plays him.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah, I understand why both of these teams are in the first four. But Baylor's probably not thrilled to see either of them. I mean, I know Nebraska only has the one quad one win. You're right. Baylor might not get out of the first round.
Yeah, I wouldn't be thrilled about seeing Richmond. I think Richmond, actually, there was a really interesting interview that was like circulating on Twitter yesterday with their head coach, kind of talking about their scheduling, and like it's really hard for these teams that are good to schedule power conference games, and like so they play TCU and Texas, like that's their quad one opportunities. Those are hard games to win, but like they like asked the league to schedule like to have Rhode Island twice, to have George Mason twice. Like they did everything to build their resume to get there. I thought that was really interesting to watch.
Yeah, because they don't do true round robins. Yeah, they asked like, we want to have home and homes with like the top teams, right? Just to boost that resume. That's fascinating, because I mean, compare that to, and this isn't right or wrong, a lot of the power conferences who say, oh, like our conference is so, are so tough that like we don't want like the Vic Schaefer vendetta thing times 10 in every conference. Not to single Texas out, but yeah, it's a fascinating difference between the power levels who get exhausted by, play South Carolina and then LSU and then Vandy and then Oklahoma and then, I don't play a ranked team. Oh, it's Tennessee. That sucks. Yeah. Versus A10's like, I need it. We need it. We need it. Gimme. Second, a potential Duke Baylor rematch could be ugly. This is relative. Trust Duke more. Duke Nebraska could be fun. That'd be a heck of a fun offensive game. And then the idea of a Maggie Dugan, Toby Fournier round of 32 game, that'd be really fun. Yeah, if Baylor were to get upset in round one, you're going to get some star power in round two in Durham. So that could be a very fun region.
Yeah.
And I mean, Charleston was a one seed in their conference, so they, I don't think they can hang with Duke, but there's talent there as well. And that brings us to the bottom of Sacramento 2. LSU hosts. They get UCLA again. Last year in the Elite Eight, UCLA won. 2024 Sweet 16, LSU won. Why not round 3 in the Elite Eight if they both get there? Are you? I mean, again, because the other two were SEC teams, it was either that or UConn. But are you? Like, I'm sure Kim Mulkey and probably Corey Close aren't thrilled by it.
Yeah, I'm sure they're not. Like, it obviously has the storylines and stuff, but it's a little unfortunate when it's like you have the same opponent in the tournament every year. So
right, like if USC got placed in stores, Lindsey Gottlieb might have had a coronary.
Yes.
Probably rightfully so.
Yes.
I'm not worried about the Tigers here at all. You have the best rebound team in the country against either a Texas Tech team that was -3 in rebound margin in Big 12 play. They're dead even on the year. I don't think Texas Tech can hang offensively, and they won't hang on the glass. What are your thoughts on Villanova as a 10 seed? Because I saw some folks say, they're better than a 10 seed, but I mean, their resume is basically they led UConn at the half once, and they beat West Virginia, which is a good win, but like that's the only tournament team they beat.
Yeah, no, I agree. Their resume is a I had them a 9, but yeah, like right around there. But I do actually think they are a better team than that, and then it's just like you don't get the opportunities necessarily in the Big East to show that. So I would take them over Texas Tech in this game probably. I just think like Jasmine Vasco is so good, but it's a team that is a little bit balanced. Like they move a lot. They're hard to defend. If you haven't seen that style of play, I think it can be hard to keep up with. But yeah, you're right. Like the resume really give that. They played the only other tournament teams they played were in November. They played Princeton and Fairfield. They lost to both, but like those are both good teams.
Blinded over there.
Yeah, the sun is hitting at the wrong angle at the moment.
Her Hoop Stats computers, by the way, it's basically a pick 'em, but they have Villanova as like a half-point favorite.
Yeah.
So take that what you will if you're looking for a 10/7. And then, of course, you can get a Duke LSU rematch in the Sweet 16. Game one happened in Durham in December? ACC SEC Challenge. Again, drastically different Duke team. I mean, who was up like 14-2 in that game, and then LSU won handily. But yeah, LSU, I think will cakewalk into the Sweet 16. Megan, do you like money?
Yes.
Do you like free gear?
Yes.
Well, I have good news for you. Well, not you. You're not eligible, but fans, now's your chance to win big this March. No bracket required. Go play at Varsity Network Swish and Win today. Just visit the College Sports Now X page at CS Now Tweets and enter to win $500 in gift cards and varsity gear. Then download free Varsity Network app, your only destination for hometown calls and complete coverage of every men's and women's game all month long. So whether it's a Learfield School, where our partnership is with, or not, you can listen to your hometown feed or the national Westwood One feed for the men's and women's tournaments and win some stuff in the process. All right, Fort Worth 3. Texas, the top seed. Your overall thoughts on the bracket?
I think to me, if there is a region that the 1 seed isn't going to come out of, it's this one. I still think it's probably Texas, but to me, that's my thought on this region.
I see a lot of teams that people underestimate for much of the year. Louisville, I don't think, was taken that seriously for a lot of the year. Alabama wasn't really taken seriously at the start of the year. Kentucky, to some extent. No one really saw Virginia Tech as a single-digit seed. And coming in, I don't think anyone's overestimating NC State or Tennessee. So a lot of teams that have maybe chips on their shoulders coming in. I don't see it in Austin. Texas will take on the winner of one of the play-in games, and then Oregon and Virginia Tech is Friday. This is early afternoon Friday. This Oregon-Virginia Tech game almost wins. Game I won't watch honors. I will watch. Both of these teams are plucky, though. Big Ducks won a couple of Big Ten games. They beat Maryland a couple times. Kudos to them for getting here. They lost their arguably best player, Elisa Mebius, 2 games into the year with a torn ACL. And then kudos to Megan Duffy for getting Virginia Tech back here. They missed out last year, right? They were one of the first 4 out. Yeah, I mean, these are 2 teams who kind of on the rise against a little bit of adversity.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. There's always like 1-8-9 game that you're just kind of like, eh. But in this one is it for me too. But I do think like you said, kudos to Megan Duffy to get this team back here. Columbia got their spot or that last spot last year, so they were, I think, the first team out last year. But they're back in the tournament, a single-digit seed too, so very comfortably here. And then Oregon has had their shares of ups and downs, so I think being back as an 8 seed too is a good for the Ducks.
Yeah, I'll take the Ducks. Give me Katie Fiso, Mia Jacobs, and the Atute kid over Carly Wenzel and Karis Baker. I mean, Virginia Tech, they have some good wins. Their best wins are Virginia twice, Syracuse, and Clemson. All fine wins. None of those teams are seeded higher than 8th. But either team's going to lose to Texas. And I don't think it'll be particularly interesting in the second half. Maybe they hang around for a half and then Texas pulls away. So I expect Texas to have no issues. Morgantown. Some storylines here. West Virginia, Miami, Ohio. Kentucky, James Madison, Saturday mid-afternoon. I mean, this is classic committee, right? Kenny Brooks, JMU. I feel a lot better about JMU's chances if they had Kenny Brooks on the sideline, frankly.
Yeah.
But it's a fun thing going in.
Yeah, exactly. Wow, I feel like the committee jumps at an opportunity like that to have a storyline in one of these games, and that's where he used to coach. So that's fun and all. I mean, JMU, a team that's I think consistently been really good the last few years. Was it last year that they missed out on the tournament? They were like really high in the.
They were like 30-4 or something, and then had a bad half in the Sun Belt title game, and well, sorry.
That'll do it, unfortunately. So they get back this year, which is exciting. But it feels like this is a tough draw for them with Kentucky. Peyton McDaniel, fantastic player. Like they have a great player in her, but I just think Kentucky is a team that, yes, they're the 5 based on their resume, but went through that stretch where they were really struggling and are out of that. And I think you're probably a little bit better than that seed number.
I mean, Kentucky's the best 5 seed.
Yeah.
Frankly, if Tiani Key doesn't dislocate her elbow in January, they almost definitely host. Said that's not the case. This is a good Duke's team, best since the COVID year. They do have a bunch of players. You mentioned Peyton McDaniel. She's been there 5 years. They have a bunch of starters who have been their third, fourth year in the program, not just in college, in the program. You don't see that, especially at the mid-major level anymore, especially with good teams. Kenny Brooks at JMU, by the way, like they were really good. A couple of times won as double-digit seeds. They were a top 30 team in 2015 in their hoop stats rankings. Like, yeah, he had that thing rolling. He just ran into someone named Elena Deladon a couple of times in the CAA, and she was pretty good. So I'm very high on the Wildcats. West Virginia, congrats to Miami for winning the MAC. That's a very good conference this year. Ball State and UMass, neither one's in the W. I said we're not going to say those 4 words. I don't understand how they weren't invited to the secondary tournament, which is why that secondary tournament is a farce. Both teams force a lot of turnovers. Redhawks also force 16 a game. I think the West Virginia crowd they commit 16 a game, I should say. I think the West Virginia crowd shows up. I see there's a big push by the university. I hope the Hope Coliseum, no pun intended, is rocking. And West Virginia rarely loses at home, so I don't think Redhawks pull the upset. But I think second round game, Kentucky, West Virginia. I'm very excited to see how Tony Morgan handles Jordan Harrison.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a really, really fun matchup. Jordan Harrison has been fantastic for West Virginia, so that'll be fun. Obviously, they're coming off the TCU win, so they can compete with teams that have size. This is going to be a fun one. I feel like we have to kind of go with West Virginia just because there's like home court advantage, and then there's West Virginia home court advantage, and I don't think I'm going to pick against them on their home floor.
We said it last week. I'll bring it up. Undefeated last year at home. This year, a anomaly of a 22-point loss to Villanova in November, lost at the buzzer to TCU, and lost by single digits to Texas Tech. That's it. That's it at home. I think a fourth happens here. The big things there are Tony Morgan can turn the ball over. She does turn the ball over. If she can limit it to 3, 4, 5 turnovers and not 6, 7, 8, and then neither of these teams statistically is amazing rebounding-wise, but can Clara Strack control things inside? I think she'll be able to. And I think Kentucky is playing well enough that they will advance to the Sweet 16 where they get a rematch with Texas. So that's one of my hosts to lose is West Virginia in a good game against Kentucky. Louisville, they get Vermont. And then Saturday early afternoon, Bama, Rhode Island, 6-11 here. It would be very Alabama of this year to win the whole darn thing, right? Because I don't think a ton of people are going to pick them to.
Yes, it would.
But I mean, compared to most of the other 3 seeds that they could have run into, Alabama isn't drastically out-talented here by Louisville.
Yeah, that is fair. I feel like I'm kind of high on this Louisville team, though. I don't know what it is. I think it's probably just like they've got a good set of players. They've kind of quietly been good. So I don't think I would pick it, but you're absolutely right that like it would be very Alabama to go do it.
I think people have slipped on Louisville because their 2 best wins are 2 against a North Carolina team that didn't really generate any buzz until they snuck into the top 16 on Saturday. And then like they lost, but they put, they had South Carolina absolutely on the ropes. But ultimately they lost that game. So it wouldn't shock me at all if they find themselves in an elite. This is very Jeff Walls.
Yeah.
Right. I know they're a 3 seed. You can't really be an under the radar 3 seed, but if you can be, it's this Louisville team. And yeah, Jeff Walls in March takes this team and they're fighting with Texas for a Final Four spot. That absolutely is in play.
Yeah.
Also in play, Rhode Island. Rhode Island struggles to score, but this is a very good defense. Very good. They've allowed 70 in a game twice all year, and they didn't do it against Penn State or NC State. Didn't score 70. Princeton didn't. George Mason didn't. Davidson didn't. Richmond did once in 2 tries, and then randomly George Washington hit exactly 70. So Alabama's gonna have to find a way to score because Rhode Island, you're the A10. I think we're both the A10 apologists here. This roadie team is for real.
They are. I realized that I missed a great opportunity today to wear my A10 merch. It would have been a perfect day for that. But anyway,
are you in green? You're enveloped in shadow.
I'm in a like blue sweatshirt. It's just the sun is hitting.
St. Patty's Day. I wore my duck shirt just because it's.
I know it is. I just like this is just what happened this morning. We're not thriving with the work schedule. But yeah, I should put some green on. You are correct. It is St. Patrick's Day. I just realized that as you said that.
Go Ducks.
But
Drink up.
yeah, I mean, Rhode Island, like you said, the defense is no joke. And they are certainly a team that they can catch someone by surprise in this tournament for sure.
That brings us to the bottom of Fort Worth 3, Michigan against Holy Cross, and then NC State, Tennessee. I know it's a rematch. I think this is the most fascinating game of the first round. And I'm not talking Wolverines and Crusaders. Played a whale of a game in Greensboro in the opening week of the year. Neither thought they'd be in the 7-10 game, considering they were both preseason top 10 teams. Now someone is going to get bounced in the first round and officially go down as the most disappointing team in the country.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on this game?
I think it kind of runs through like what is Tennessee going to do, because there's a world where maybe the 2 weeks off for Tennessee helps them and they like figure it out a little bit and they win this, or there's a world where like this is just like the next stop in the spiraling downwards of Tennessee for the year, and like they're just one and done in this game. And I don't know what version of Tennessee we're going to see in this at all.
I should have had this ready. Oddly enough, like Tennessee's been pretty good, except for the third quarter. They're just god awful. I was having conversations with people in Greenville. Let me pull it up. Like the one game during this stretch that they've been close was the Texas loss. They lost by 2. They hung around the third quarter. But UConn, that was tied at the half, 29-11 Huskies in the third. Ole Miss, 31-20 Rebels in the third. Texas A&M, 22-9 Aggies in the third. Oklahoma won the third. They put up 24 points. LSU, 27-17 in the third. Vandy, 30-15 in the third quarter. That was a close game at halftime. And then Alabama, closer, but still they gave up 22 in the third and lost by a dozen. So like they're losing these games largely by 10, 11, 12, 15 points. And they're losing the third quarter by 10, 11, 12, 15 points. Like it's very random that it's this quarter out of halftime. We've exhausted, I think, the Tennessee conversation in the last month. NC State, though, quietly, they've beaten 5 tournament teams all year, one of whom is Green Bay. And none of those teams have been seeded higher than 9th of the teams they've beaten. Like they're quietly a very disappointing team.
Right.
I have a thing planned for the end of the year where I'm going to play some of my greatest hits, both the good and more probably popular, the bad, because there were some bad ones. NC State, I said they weren't going to be very good. 1,000%. Nailed on. That's the one thing I got right, was that NC State wasn't that good. And now, however, Michigan's in a tricky spot because for all the disappointment relative for these two teams, Michigan's the only 2 seed that they're going to walk into a round of 32 game, and someone's going to be as talented as them.
Yeah.
Like if you're looking for a 2 seed to slip up, this could be a spot.
Yeah, great. As much as those 2 teams have disappointed, like they do have the talent. And there's not a lot of other matchups where you're gonna say, yeah, the 2 seed has this, or the 7 or the 10 has as much talent as the 2 seed.
That brings us to Sacramento 4. Sorry. I think this has the most potential for chaos. I know you think it's Fort Worth 3. Not necessarily like South Carolina losing or reaching the Final Four, like probably, but everything else. Heck, I mean, even they can see Oklahoma in the Sweet 16. Let me pull up the rest of the region. Where am I going? Like South Dakota State, I think, could make some noise. Yes. Iowa, we just saw Iowa lose by 51. They played well before then, but like they're just, there's a lot of scenarios where could TCU make an Elite Eight? Could Washington go on a run? They could lose in the first round. They can go on a run. I think there's a lot of different scenarios here, more so than in other regions. What are your thoughts on Sacramento 4?
Yeah, I agree with that. Like, I still think South Carolina comes out of it, but the rest of it, that it would guess who is the other 3 teams that make it to the regional.
Congrats to Clemson and USC. I'm not going to watch 1 second of this game. Not 1 second. This is my Saturday afternoon break. Nice job by Clemson. Heck of a year. It's their second NCAA tournament since 2002, but this one's Sean Poppy's doing a great job. Not trying to take away from that. I also, frankly, don't care that it's a guaranteed second-round rematch. If anything, that's informing my decision because Clemson scored 37 at Colonial Life in November, And USC only lost by 17 in LA. I thought it was worse for some reason, probably because they were minus 25 on the glass or 24 on the glass. Like, I know how the second round ends. USC is meh. Clemson, nice year, meh. I need a break, and that'll come Saturday afternoon for this game.
Yeah, exactly. This one doesn't do a ton for me too. I think when you look at USC here, you think about, okay, like the future picture, and like we're gonna have Juju back next year, so it's good to get this young talent some tournament experience. But whoever wins that first one, South Carolina is going to handle easily in the second game.
I mean, you don't score 37 points on accident against South Carolina. Sure, they're going to score more than that in the round of 32 if it's Clemson. It's not going to magically be 80.
Right.
And then, yeah, USC, I assume they didn't get a forward between the end of the Big Ten tournament and today.
Yeah.
So, I mean, honestly, we'll have kind of post-mortems on these teams next week as they get eliminated. Juju coming back, obviously, that's important. They're getting some stud kid because they get a stud kid every year now as a freshman. Go get a big in the portal.
Yeah.
That's as important as getting Juju back, is just getting some size, because they desperately missed Kiki and Rhea Marshall this year.
Yeah. And that shouldn't be hard for them to do. Like, it's not going to be a hard sell to come play with Juju and Jazzy Davidson and compete for a national title next year.
No, you would think not. No. Norman, Oklahoma, Idaho, and then Michigan State, Colorado State Friday night. I don't see either 12-5 or 13-4 upset. Colorado State, good D on paper. They've played 0 top 50 here hoop stats teams this year. This would be a potential Oklahoma State, Michigan State. I think talent versus team game. Not to say that Michigan State doesn't have talent or Oklahoma isn't a good team. Obviously they are. But like, Oklahoma very much is the sum of their parts.
Yeah.
Michigan State, I think, is greater than the sum of its parts. And it makes for a very interesting potential round of 32.
Yeah, for me, this one comes down to like kind of what version of Oklahoma in a way. Like, when Oklahoma has it all together, when like Reagan Beers is playing well and Chavez is shooting the ball well, they're really difficult to beat. But that doesn't always all happen together. And I think if that doesn't all happen together, then Michigan State certainly has a window here to get the win.
Oh, absolutely. This is the third time I'm saying this. I know what I'm getting with Michigan State. Against this defense, they're probably going to score 72 to 75 points. Kennedy Blair will play well. Grace Van Sluten will play well. What I don't know is if I'm getting 90-point Oklahoma or if I'm getting 70-point Oklahoma that shoots 3 of 21 from 3.
Yeah.
And the turnovers, which hadn't been a problem this year, they've been a problem in February. They're averaging 18 a game since the start of February. That's a bad thing if you're playing Michigan State. So this is extremely which Oklahoma shows up, because I know which Michigan State's probably going to show up.
Yeah, I think Oklahoma has the bigger upside here. You saw it when they beat South Carolina. Like, when they are firing on all cylinders, like, they have as good of upside as anyway. But like the downside is further down for Oklahoma.
This is your, like, if you had Oklahoma in the Elite Eight, that obviously would require beating South Carolina a second time. There's a pathway to that. We have seen the pathway to that. There's also a pathway where that burns you because they don't make it out of the first weekend.
Right.
And flip a coin. That's the fun part of March. Fort Worth, TCU, UC San Diego. Congrats to the Tritons. 6th year as the D1 program. They've already made 2 tournaments. Last year they were a first 4 game, and they were 14 seed, and then another just amazing 6-11 matchup. Friday, early afternoon. Give me South Dakota State over Washington.
Same. Brooklyn Meyer, it's her 4th NCAA tournament. They've gone to the second round and to the ones that she's played in before. Like, I don't see any reason why they don't do it again here. I think the her stats model favors them too. I think it's
5.5.
like, a 55% chance of winning or something like that. So yeah, give me South Dakota State in this one. I mean, Washington has the guard trio, but they were kind of young, and I think South Dakota State has the experience edge here, and they're going to have the best player on the floor most likely.
If not, then she's 1B to Savia Sellers, right. 1A. The big differentiator here, it's very similar to Fairfield and Notre Dame. Like, when you have a talented mid-major against a power opponent, often size is just, you can't teach it. That's not an issue here. Washington, they have an undersized freshman forward in Bryn McGoy who's very good. She's not huge. Yulia Grabovskaya is big. She's not a big stat stuffer. And that's about it for Washington in terms of size. where South Dakota State's not huge. Brooklyn Myers, your classic forward, but otherwise they have a couple of 6'2" guards, so they're long and lean versus your traditional back to the basket big. But Myers the best forward on the floor. Huskies don't really get blown out, even by UCLA, but they have been vulnerable. They've lost at Purdue. They've split with USC. South Dakota State, they've won tournament games before. Give me this one. Give me the Jackrabbits.
Also,
That said,
random fact, but South Dakota State was in stores last year, and their mascot has a giant stuffed carrot that it carries around, and that made me very happy. It's very funny.
It's amazing. Too much size for TCU for them to do it twice, though.
Yeah.
TCU's so long, they're not going to score enough, I don't think.
Yeah, I don't think it's a good matchup for them in TCU. There's probably threes where you would scratch your head and say they could make this a game, but I just think TCU has too much size for that to happen.
Frankly, UW has the same problem. They've coped pretty well with UCLA, better than most. They lost by 15 and 18, but neither one was competitive in the fourth quarter. Yeah, TCU's just so long, and then add in All-American Olivia Miles, and I think TCU more so than most of the other 3 seeds. Let me make sure. Yeah, Ohio State could run into some trouble, I guess. But yeah, more so than the other 3 seeds, I think TCU should have no issues getting to the second weekend.
Yeah.
And that leaves us. Iowa fans, don't get my mentions. That's just how the bracket laid out. We didn't mean to leave you last, but you're last. Sacramento 4, the bottom of it. Saturday afternoon at Carver Hawkeye. Iowa Fairleigh Dickinson, Georgia against the winner of Virginia and Arizona State. I think Georgia's vulnerable here because all 3 of these teams, Georgia, Virginia, ASU, none of them are great offensively. So you're going to have some low-scoring games here, potentially.
Yeah, in low-scoring games, I think games are generally close when they're low-scoring. So then they're vulnerable that someone hits a couple extra threes or something could knock them off. But I also think just like a Coach Abe team is never an easy out in the NCAA tournament, and they're going to be tough. And if they make it to the second round, it's not going to be an easy matchup for Iowa either.
No, Bulldogs are almost entirely dependent on Danny Carnegie. I didn't get to use this because I didn't have a voice to broadcast this on, so I'll throw it here. In Georgia wins, Danny Carnegie is averaging 19.5 points a game. She shoots 48% overall and 44% from 3. In Georgia losses, she shoots 32% overall, 19% from 3, and she averages less than 15 a game. She plays well, Georgia has a heck of a chance to win. She does not play well, Georgia's not going to beat Iowa, and Georgia may not beat Virginia or Arizona State, both of whom are decent defensively. I should say Virginia is better on offense than maybe I started this thought with, but still they're not they're not world beaters offensively. Iowa looked good. Meanwhile, they won 8 in a row. They beat Illinois twice. They beat Michigan twice. I just wonder, it's one thing to lose to UCLA. 51 points. That's a lot to think about for a week and a half.
Yeah. And it's just one game, so we shouldn't really get too hung up on it. But yeah, it's 51 points is a lot of points to lose a game.
It's a lot of points
when you're especially a team at that level. It's just kind of crazy.
Ultimately, it probably doesn't mean anything. I do wonder if that just creeps in their head at all. Probably doesn't. It's a lot of points. All right, we'll end. I'm not going to go as in depth as normal with this because, frankly, Andy Tulin did a much better job than I did of narrowing down who's going to win the national champion. He went, I don't remember the order. It was offensive efficiency, defensive efficiency, rebounding, turnovers, and basically said there's 5 teams who can win a national title. I don't go quite to national title. I go who can make a Final Four. But the long and short of it is, if you have, let's see, no 14 or 15 seeds ever won a first-round game. On average, you get one 11 seed and one 12 seed to win. It's been a couple of years since we got a 12 seed to win a game. Only 6 teams in the last 14 years as a double-digit seed have gone to the second weekend, and no one's done it in 3 years. So if you have Murray State in your Sweet 16, good luck, even though I think they have a shot. On average, you're going to have 3.5 hosts lose since they went back to the top 16 hosting. That excludes 2020, where we didn't have a tournament, in 2021 with the bubble. No team seeded worse than thirds ever won a natty. 1 seeds overwhelmingly win it. Only a couple of 3 seeds, frankly, have won it. 2023 LSU is the only one in the last 25 years. And then offensively, Alabama's not going to the Final Four. They don't score enough. I can explain why. Read Andy's column. Ohio State, Oklahoma, Illinois are not good enough defensively to get to a Final Four. Michigan State, Vandy, Texas Tech, Notre Dame, Alabama, and Ohio State, again, are not good rebounding teams. They're not good enough to go to the Final Four. and no team seeded 7th or worse is going to the Final Four. There you go. That's like 17 teams that can get there. Non-host that can go on a run. 5 seed or worse. Who's going on a run this week, mate? Run meaning however you want to take it. They go to the second weekend. They go to the Elite Eight, whatever.
I mean, Kentucky for sure is one to keep an eye on. I think they're just playing at a higher level than they were earlier in the season. Or when that stretch where they had that tough stretch.
I think it's Kentucky, maybe Ole Miss, but then UCLA in the Sweet 16 seems
tough.
arduous.
Yeah, it's like you're running into a buzzsaw. It's the same way. On both of those top 2 brackets, it's like you're running into UCLA or you're running into UConn.
All right, you tell me. Who's going to the Final Four? Who's winning the whole darn thing?
All right. Well, I realistically think the 1 seeds are all going to the Final Four, but that's not very exciting, and I can't be that boring in my bracket. So UConn and UCLA are going to the Final Four. I have very few doubts about that. I'm going to throw Louisville in there for Fort Worth 3. I don't know.
Spicy.
It feels like we need a little bit of chaos. Like Jeff Walsh has been there many times before. Why not this year? And then South Carolina out of Sacramento 4.
You ever watched Chalk Zone as a kid?
No.
Come on, man. that was I think right after the SpongeBob Fairly Odd Parents just power duo. But yeah, I mean, give me the chalk. Give me the 1 seeds. All this an hour and 6 minutes into this recording for us to tell you. Yeah, it's probably just going to be the 1 seeds.
Yeah,
because they're a lot better than everyone else. Let me check the Slack because our founder in chief Aaron ran some numbers. I just want to make sure we're allowed to say this publicly. Of basically the long and short of it is the top 4 teams are a lot better than everyone else.
Yes,
by a wide margin. LSU's kind of in that middle ground of like, yeah, they're not really in the top 4, but they're not really the 6th best team either. But yeah, if you don't have at least 3 of the 1 seeds, you might have your bracket get busted quickly.
Yeah.
What are you doing Friday and Saturday? And Sunday and Monday for that matter.
Yeah, well, Saturday, Monday, I will be up in stores. So we'll watch the games there. We'll watch as much as I can, probably on my computer on the sideline. If you see me in stores, I will be watching games on my computer and in person.
You had a crowd around you last year, 2 years ago?
Yeah. I forget.
You're the only one in the freaking arena with an internet feed. And what game was it?
I think it was when Indiana lost when they were the 1 seed.
Miami.
Like that Indiana 8-9 game. I'm forgetting. Oh, Miami.
Yeah.
Beat them. Yeah. And I was sitting right in front of Gino's wife, and yeah, I had a crowd.
Is the Wi-Fi at Gamble any better?
No, but you got to remember to bring your Ethernet cord. That's the hack.
Okay,
I gotta find mine.
You bought a TV a couple years ago too for extra purposes. You still have that?
Yeah, we have lots of TVs in this house. We've got the big one downstairs, and then I've got one that rolls around that I also use to watch TV outside in the summer. So
roller. That's like straight out of elementary school.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, again, there's 2 games on Wednesday, there's 2 games Thursday, and then there's 48 Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. We'll be back next Tuesday to recap the first 2 rounds and preview the Elite Eight and Sweet 16. Enjoy all the basketball.